Welcome to our evening service. And this evening we are coming from the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing, founded by Reverend Michelle Luzon in 1977. She was a mystic and a beautiful channel for the higher realms of spirit, brought to us so much information and trained us so well in metaphysical understanding of who we are and why we are here. And we are here to help you to understand that yourselves as you tune into us. So some of the presentations will be more relevant to you than others, but this evening is a particular time of the year in August that has some spiritual connotations to it that people don't normally think about. Usually they're thinking about going to the beach or something. So we want you to be aware that this is also a very spiritual time. And we're going to begin. Reverend Kelly Wolf will be presenting with me. I'm Reverend Mary Huber, if I didn't say that. And we'll begin with the affirmations of the Faith, Hope, and Charity, which we call the three healers. And these are called the three healers because they have an alignment within our energy systems. Of all of the energy systems are come into an alignment with the affirmation of the faith, hope, and charity as they were brought in from spirit directly for our organization and for the world through us. Hopefully you will find those and repeat them yourself in your daily life. You can find them on our website at ccwh.com. So we'll begin. A faith affirmation. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, my needs, and my opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. Kelly, would you like to continue?
Sure. Thank you, Mary. The Hope Affirmation. Acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity, I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within myself. And the Charity Affirmation. In understanding faith, in knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth, to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my Creator. So help me God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. This evening the topic was stimulated by the reminder given to me by another minister, Reverend Brenda McGrath, that we were presenting on August 8th, which means the figure 88. And I thought that was a good topic to bring up this evening because this does have relevance spiritually. And so I'm going to present some version of that, what the figure 8 means, and Kelly will also present some material on this. So symbol, the term symbol stands for something that is a concept, a set of complex ideas that might be abstract and have multiple interpretations. They may have an indirect or metaphorical, or I like to think metaphysical, that doesn't part of the dictionary, association with what they represent. So they do stand for something bigger than themselves. And we're familiar with many symbols, which, when seen, mean a relationship to a concept. So, if you take for instance, the tree of life, people know that symbol. And the tree of life can stand for a number of things. And it's been in the consciousness of humanity for centuries, if not thousands of years. It can mean interconnectedness or the cycle of life. The tree's roots might stand for our relative to our past, with the branches being something that goes into the future. There are some other interpretations as well. Many of these, like this one, they go back to antiquity. And even in times before our known Earth history, the symbols were always used by humanity. So another example is take the Star of David. It is associated mostly today with the Jewish religion, but it is a much, much older symbol, and that is of the fundamental interconnectedness with our higher nature. We are represented by the lower triangle with a base on earth, that when the apex is reaching up to the heavens or to the God within us, and the other triangle is inverted the other way. It's the heavens reaching down to us, and we are at the apex of that. And when those two come into an alignment, in the perfect alignment, we have made that relationship to our spirit that we are seeking in a perfected way, that we have finally arrived at the understanding of what our higher and lower natures are and what we're supposed to do. So as we are reaching up in the perfect alignment with God, we know that this is what we are seeking for, and we are trying to live the principles. When we bring that into our life, we are trying to live the higher principles that our own God nature within us, the God creator within us, wants us to be in our daily life. So the figure 8 then is a representation of higher and lower. It's very similar in its own way to the Star of David, if you look at it that way. It's our higher nature and our lower natures flowing together in perfect harmony. And that perfect place where it crosses over, as Michelle taught us, is at the heart. The heart is a great synthesizer of our thinking and our lower feeling nature that we have, so that we get the understanding of both in our lives and we can make better choices. So, though that this is from her teaching, that we are composed of two natures, our higher nature, lower nature. The higher creative intelligence or consciousness is our spirit, and which is infused into a physical form, which is our lower nature. And the higher nature is the subatomic energy system in our body. The lower nature is the electromagnetic system in our body. And these two are joined in each of us in such a way that they are completely interacting at all times, and only separate at the time that we are to leave the planet permanently from this experience. So we have to learn to bring those two into harmony and balance, so that we can get the best experience for this lifetime out of our journey that we have here. No matter what our length of time is, this is always our goal. But our goal is also to enjoy life and to have vibrant health along the way. And when we understand how those two work together, we can get that result for ourselves. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the other reason for us to be here with the Lionsgate, but we'll go on. I'd like Kelly to present something about the number 8. She has some training in numerology that I am not invested in, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about the figure 8.
All right. Well, thank you, Mary, and thank you for, your beautiful words, that beautiful explanation. Well, in numerology, 8 is often linked very strongly to things like abundance, wealth, success, very much the material world, very much earth. And if you have a lot of number 8 energies, you're seen to have wealth yourself. You're also seen to be, powerful, kind of assertive, very capable. sort of person. And again, kind of earthy, practical, organized. Um, when we see the image 8, as Mary pointed out, of course, it's basically two circles, and circles have this feeling of being a complete circuit, something, an enclosed cycle, as it were. And 8 also has this energy of completeness, of a cycle or a circuit being complete in and of itself. Um, and I do think that that ties in nicely with the higher and lower selves, because um, sometimes I think we tend to erroneously really like separate the spiritual from the physical, but they are linked. And there, this shows up in the figure 8, where you see the higher and lower winding together in the symbol and in the energies, because part of every, every encounter you have in the physical is in some way mirrored in the spiritual. And you have spiritual energies coming to us all the time in the physical, all manner of support from spirit. And like I said, this mirroring of energies, so that if your spirit is engaging in certain practices, you'll see it come to you on earth. And I think that's really the gist, the main point of this symbol, um, is linking heaven and earth, bringing heaven to earth, and seeing that they mirror each other, seeing that they connect, seeing that only together do they form that beautiful cycle, you know, um, and they need to be intertwined. So that's what I take away from the figure 8 and those energies. I know also at this time, there's a lot of talk of these energies of 8-8 having to do with Leo moving into the Sirius star in Orion's belt. And that is bringing very special energies to Earth at this time. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about that a little bit, Mary. But I think it's a very special time for light on our planet.
It is. That's what Patricia Cota Robles has been bringing to us. If you tune into her channel, she has the Era of Peace organization, and she brings a lot of material in from Spirit. And she says that this is the time at the Lion's Gate where there is a quantum shift of energies happening. I did not realize this, but when she brought it out, she said it begins on the 22nd of July when Leo comes in, the astrological sign of Leo, which is also, which I didn't know, Mary Magdalene's feast day, which I had never looked at it that way. And apparently, Mary Magdalene now is a great um, channel now, bringing in to Earth for the feminine energies. The beginning of the Leo, which is, I would like to investigate a little bit more because I had not heard that before, but this is her understanding. Now, that time frame goes till for the Lion's Gate. It is an energy vortex, and that comes in from the cosmos. It's nothing even in our local system of worlds. It comes from very high sources. And July 26th is considered, at the end of the Lionsgate, is considered to be the Galactic New Year. I, again, never heard of that before, but I thought that was interesting. The galaxies and the universe has a celebration too, very similar to us. Remember, higher and lower balance, as above, so below. What we do here is a very distorted or very minute or something, I don't know how to describe it, reflection of what goes on in the higher realms, which is always going to be true, apparently, through our journey. But anyway, Sirius is in tandem with our sun during the opening of the gate, and the Earth aligns with Sirius and Leo And this is why the new cycle of life begins in the heavens. So today is the pinnacle of the feast, or the opening, or the vortex that's coming in. So I think the maximum amount of light that is, has built up to come in through this period is today, is now, is even as we speak. So this year is the first time that this amount of power can come through through the Lion's Gate, from much higher realms to Earth, because what has been happening prior to this has been the trying to clear out the astral realms, where we have as our repository of all the distortions that we have created, especially emotionally. They have been working very hard to clear that out. And so this year, a lot of that has been cleared. And so we're able to receive now the much higher energies. And then she said that we should be much more um, energized, and we're going to receive much more powerfully the energies of different other celebrations, of like the new moon, the full moon. You're going to, all of those energies that we normally think of, oh, this is a special time for this and that. This is going to be much more powerful in our life now, because of this ability through the Lion's Gate to push this amount of beautiful, higher clearing energy. So this is now is the opportunity. It's a frequency of solar light codes. Also, there is an octave of photonic energy. So there's an additional energy entering. Um, so it is vital that we dissolve illusions in our world, and delusions, and those things that we have created that were never true. And this is going to help us do that more than ever. And she said the gift is going to be, now this may be what I was referring to before we started the chapel, that I said there was a psychic who said there was going to be something special happening between the middle of August and the end of August. And I just realized reading this that the thing, if this may be what Patricia Cota Robles was talking about when she said, you're going to experience something profound. It's going to be manna from heaven. And I'm thinking, I wonder, at the time she said it, I was thinking, well, I wonder if that's going to be something physical suddenly descending, which of course that was always, that's always my first thought is, well, it could be something physical. But this is the real manna from heaven, would be to know that a profound truth is going to be revealed. And the profound truth is that there has never been a separation from God. That has been a falsehood that's been promoted through darker forces who would like us to be separated from God. But human beings have always been connected, and God has never gone anywhere else. So there has been no separation. So as we remove the blocks to that belief, and get rid of that belief that has kept us from this realization, now we will be able to say, and her statement is, now you can truly say, I am one with my I am presence, and one with my Father, Mother, God. And I believe if I can leave you, if you only take one good message from today's talk, which I hope you'll have many of more, but that one statement, if you could say that every day and realize it every day, would be a profound help us all. This would help all of us make the changes that we need to make. So there is going to be a transforming of everything on earth now into the perfection for life on earth. And there is a collaboration going on between the Company of Heaven, the Galactic Federation of Light, and awakened humanity. And they said this, again, it's the law of three, the creative force of three. Three is a number of creation. So it's a wonderful time. I would like everyone to appreciate it and to realize that the Lion's Gate can always be open to you anytime you tune into it, because everything exists in the now, and you can always grab that energy of the Lion's Gate any time of the day that you want to. Um, Kelly, would you like to add anything? I'm sorry, I kind of got taken up with Patricia's revelation of the manna from heaven.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And I loved listening, so thank you. Well, I guess I would like to go back a little bit to this idea of why there's so much more light coming into the gate now and like what was happening before. Because I liked how you were explaining how, the earth and residents of earth have been blocked, they've been hampered by illusions. And certainly, I think you touched on the biggest, illusion there is, the separation from God, um, or from spirit. And yeah, I do think, and I believe Patricia mentions this also. She has a nice image of it. She says, Earth has basically been accumulating almost like a tar like covering.
Mm.
And that is really an accumulation of thought forms, sort of people's thoughts, emotions, negativity, all these beliefs that are in fact not true, that are in fact not aligned with truth or light or grace or spirit, like the separation from God. Um, and I think it's worth keeping in mind how those things are created, that they're created by people, a lot by your thoughts and beliefs. Um, and a really important way to overcome that or not create those harmful or untrue beliefs is to constantly invite spirit in, right? Because we can so easily get caught up in our day-to-day worries, in our own interpretation, or other humans' interpretations of the situation, that it's easy to just think only of that and keep going to the same kind of cycle of thoughts over and over and over. But when you invite spirit in, a lot of people say it like give it to God, using that language. If you give it over to the highest and greatest good, if you're letting the light in, the light can work in ways that our human minds can't, can bring resolutions that we would never see. But it does need to be invited in frequently, very, very frequently. And that's another reason why I love that affirmation you gave us, Mary, about, affirming that you're one with God, because we should always keep that in mind. You know, God is always with us. I love that.
Yeah, this
So,
is,
oh, sorry,
uh,
go ahead.
I agree with you there. It's a beautiful presentation of that we go through every day.
And I like how I think this is another thing that Patricia mentioned, that she gave us that image of this tar-like veil around the earth, and she was saying it's transforming. It's been transforming as humanity has been growing. I know it's hard to see sometimes, but they have been growing and changing over time, and so too has this veil around the earth, so that it has become really less tar-like and more like a gossamer veil of light. And that is allowing us, everyone on earth, to take in more and more and more light, including this really high vibration, this really high amount of light coming in today.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
but I do kind of wonder, what do you think that means for us in like our everyday lives, Mary? How do you see that inundation of light as affecting us?
Well, I got a lovely message one morning as I was waking up. I often get my messages from Spirit then when I'm very relaxed, and actual messages does come through. And one morning it said, there is only light. the illusion is that there is anything else. So I think that was the precursor to what Patricia Cota-Robles was saying. And it's when we get inundated with outside information from that's still the residue coming forward from the past, it can be difficult to remember that there is only light and that we are always connected to God. So that reality, I think we need to create a pattern of affirmation, affirming that, and I guess investing in that kind of understanding many times during the day so we can get the habit of thinking that way instead of the old thinking that we have been doing for some of us many, many decades. And some of you not so much. So you have it is difficult to make a new habit, but that is a fantastic new habit to have because what we're all looking for is to go into the Christ consciousness. And the Christ consciousness is in every single individual. It does not exist just in Christians. Christ is a universal consciousness that involves all of us, and that layer of ourself is where we have to go to in order to get beyond it. We're looking at going up, ever upward in understanding, in experience, and in a sort of a vibratory pattern and elevation in our frequencies has to keep going up. And that going up to Christ consciousness is what we now call the fifth dimensional reality. That's where there is nothing but Christ consciousness there. So we are trying our best to get there. And there is a plan for our victory of freedom in the light for each one of us. That plan for the children of God was defined in the life of Jesus and other avatars who came to live by example to show us the way to the freedom that we need to have in order to be in the light. We have to let go of, to be free, you're let go. You have to let go of anything that's weighing you down. And what weighs us down are wrong thinking, wrong behaviors. So those who have the freedom that those generations, there are generations who have lost their way in their contact with God and the heavenly host and the elementals even. This is why we're being reminded of how important it is to tune back to the earth, because the elementals have a part to play in our evolution because they are of the earth, and the earth can help us so much in our process of doing that higher lower balance. So we are going upward in that, and when through service to life as an individual, we need to attain mastery over outer circumstances. We need to balance 51% of our karma, and we need to fulfill the law of the being that we have been here for. In other words, our divine plan for this entire life stream, for being here at all on the planet in any of our incarnations. So doing those three things, we then only then can return to the throne of grace and being, and then we will have the perfected state of the ascension, the true ascension. And once ascended, that individual is known as an ascended master. Now, archangels were given their name because they became masters over their worlds that they existed in. Again, as above, so below for them. There's this law is through eternity on all levels that we will be experiencing this. And in order to earn this office of the archangel, many had to embody, not all of them, but some did embody in order to get moving onward in their evolution. So even the elementals evolved through their own spiritual hierarchy. So all of life is in the process of ascending. When it follows the divinely natural process of spiritual evolution, it is through ascension that angels, men, and elementals find their way back to the heart of God and the eternal life they once knew even before the morning stars began to sing together. So that was one of the master's presentations to us about our own Christ self, our own ascension, where we are all headed. Those who will listen to the will of God. It has to be under everything we do has to be according to the will of God and the natural laws here and the higher laws of the universe. So once we get all of that together, and we were given the dispensation. I've been told by Michelle that we used to have to transform 100% of our karma, but because we were, it was apparently evident to the higher forces that that wasn't going to happen for humanity. So we were given a dispensation. You only had to do a little bit over half, 51% of a payback for any errors you made in any incarnation before you can have the ability and the calling from spirit to do the ascension process. And someday we'll go through that process because it's an amazing process that the soul and the physical and together experience. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to bring in about the Christ consciousness or your experiences along the way.
Well, I
Um,
think the only thing I really wanted to mention, and again, that was so lovely and important what you brought up, Mary, is to keep in mind that, and you did mention this, that everyone, right, has their higher self. Everyone has a Christ consciousness. And I think it's nice to keep that in mind. It's one thing if you can keep it in mind if you're meditating or praying or in some sort of very peace-filled state. Um, but you can also, you know, keep it in mind if you're having difficulties with someone. That this person too has a higher self. And sometimes I feel like it's worth it to say, my higher self is honoring your higher self. Maybe say it, silently, and see if there's kind of any change there in the interaction or in your thoughts, even because I do think we all need to keep in mind that every single one of us, uh, not just human beings either, have this spiritual element that we can resonate with in some way,
mm,
perhaps commune with in some cases, and that's always worth trying. I feel to keep that communication open.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably I mean, a very important point you brought up would be to look for the good in people rather than anything else. That's something that we kind of get taught I was taught way back. And of course, as life progressed, I think that wasn't as much taught anymore. Um, Also, the expression from the past was if you can't say anything good about somebody, don't say anything at all. That's been violated many times. Anyway, you kind of brought us into the techniques that we were going to discuss about um, how we get that higher lower balance. And I wanted since there are many ways, of course, with prayers that people are familiar with, but we are very focused on meditation in our organization because that is one of the oldest techniques given to humanity by spirit to bring us back. And so I think I would like you to let people know about how you do your beautiful meditations, your guided meditations.
Certainly. I mean, it's always good to kind of connect with the light, as we've been talking about, connect with spirit, accelerate this opening to the light. And I think things like prayer, things like spending time in nature and meditation are very helpful for all of that. Um, I feel like I'm very much one of the lucky ones. I enjoy meditating, something I like to do, and I've liked to do for a long time. I know there are many people out there who feel like it's more of a struggle. Um, and and meditation can mean many things to many different people, in that there are different ways to meditate, different traditions that teach different meditation styles. So I think it's worth it to keep in mind that at its core, meditation is listening to God or listening to spirit. You often hear it. I often hear it defined concisely as prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening. Um, so really, what do you have to do to listen? Not that much. Just kind of be there. So you can certainly just be quiet. Just try to be still, or just try to, maybe be quiet in nature, but be taking in those nature sounds. Now, I also am one of those people who sometimes has a very active imagination. At times, perhaps it was called an overactive imagination, even. But can you really have that? I don't know. But so I also find it easy to follow positive imaginings as a way of kind of gently and naturally leading yourself into a meditative state. And I think that's what helped me come up with some sort of like guided meditations or meditation journeys are essentially, in some ways, imagining. Um, so I'll be leading a bit of a guided meditation later, but as I said, there are many ways to meditate. I think, Mary, you know a lot of them.
Yes, well, I started with what is the easiest one for me to have started with because I had small children at the time, and to spend time imaging or anything like that was impossible. So I started with the gazing on the candle, and training my mind. Meditation requires an acute sense of presence before God. You're actively waiting on God, and you don't know how it's going to come in. So the mind has to be trained to let go of other external things. So that's one a wonderful thing to do, is just do that, reproduce the image in the center in your behind your closed eyes, and just keep looking at the candle, reproducing it. And at some point, you just time yourself, or if you just don't have any more time, you keep going on. It's a mind training thing to begin with. Um, then you have some sense of being able. I think you have, it's a good thing to do before you get into mindfulness meditation. And mindfulness meditation um, is the sense of just being present in the moment. Now that sounds easy, but if you don't have some sort of discipline to begin with, it can be very difficult. So being present in the moment is to experience something without any judgment about what you're looking at or what you're hearing. No judgment. You want to experience it fresh, as though you've never heard, you just landed on the planet and you never saw this or heard this before. And you want to evaluate it from your own sense of what you believe, from higher sense of self, of how that's going to work out. Does this feel good? You'd have that opportunity to do something with what's coming at you in a way that you don't when you have distracted mind and have other things going on, and that can interfere with your observation at the moment. So being there and being quietly aware can be very difficult for people too. That's why I believe starting with a focused meditation to begin with, and then move into mindfulness, so that you're comfortable disciplining your mind with allowing your environment to just be there, and receiving the environment as you're hearing it or seeing it or experiencing it without any judgment at all. You're there specifically to do that experience. Now, some people, um, well, for that did come through there was a version of that in the Chinese system, but the Japanese really adapted that more than it came through the Orient. And the Japanese have probably, I don't know about have, but had a system called Zazen. And Zazen taught you to be in the moment. You are to be there meditating, and they called it just sitting. You weren't doing anything. Somebody said, "What are you doing?" "I'm just sitting." You're sitting and acutely observing. And that's what that training in Zazen is about. And it is the mindfulness that we are talking about, at least a version of it, that we are familiar with. And that can be useful when you do your nature walks, where you are being in the moment. And it isn't just because we have a tendency to look at something and then say, "Oh, I see that," and then your mind just, drifts off into something else, and you're, making your grocery list again, and you're thinking about what else you're doing. It's very important that if you're in nature, you stay in there, nature. You observe every single thing you're observing, and you don't go anywhere else. Now that, again, it's a discipline. Um, when the mind is disciplined, spirit has the greatest opportunity to get through in a better way, because you're not judging to begin with, you're receiving. And once you understand how to receive from spirit, and are you receiving from spirit, that's we could talk about that at some other time. But this is a profound way to get in touch with your inner divine self, because these messages are coming from your own Godhead, the spirit within you, your I am presence. When you are directing that, you want to clear everything else, and you're looking for that. There are those in spirit who will assist in the process. There are those in spirit who we have, before we came in, we have asked them to please help. As a human being, I'm going to start wandering. I'm going to ask if you can also kind of keep me on track. So we do have spiritual advisors of all sorts available to us. And this is why we are told we must ask. We have free will. They will not intervene unless we ask. This is what prayer is so valuable, because we are supplicating. We are saying, "Help, help, help," usually when we are praying, and we are inviting that help in. But we are focusing our understanding that there are higher dimensions, are the beautiful, never-ending light that we are embracing now that we know that we are one with our Creator, and we say those affirmations now. From now on, I am one with my I am presence, and I am one with my own Father, Mother, God. And if you can get in that mode, and then you go into something where you are open to spirit without judgment, and you will receive something acknowledged to you in your life that will be, I guess, a stepping stone, a bright spot in your day, and your life can flow much better under those circumstances than the old way that we have been living. So that's sort of my short version of mindfulness. And being in nature would be to be acutely aware of where you are, and what you're looking at, and what you're hearing, and what you're experiencing. So it isn't just a walk in nature as we normally think of it. Um, so that's incorporating both the higher and the lower, the elementals, and we have our own configuration within ourselves of going back to God. And in speaking of going back to God, I am going to attempt to put up now the musical, the music behind your meditation, Kelly. And
Ooh.
if it doesn't work out, just keep going.
Okay.
I have to uh, bring this up on screen first. And I might need to have it filled pretty well. All right. I think I'll do it without going into the big full screen because I might lose my contact with your being able to get back to you guys and on this on our Zoom session. So I'm going to share sound, share, and well. All right, we will do our, okay, allow. Mhm. All right, I don't have music, so go ahead, Kelly, and I will put this on slideshow.
Well, I thank you though for making that lovely slide and for working on getting music. Better luck next time. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. We'll see. All right. So thank you all for being here. We're going to get in a nice position for meditation. Sit comfortably with your backs relatively straight here. Start by taking some nice calming deep breaths in and out, in and out. We find ourselves peaceful, relaxed, and calm. We feel ourselves simultaneously with our feet on the ground and our eyes toward heaven. From this nice balanced place between heaven and earth, we reach out to spirit, to light, to the God of all that is. And we see a beautiful light, the light of spirit. Now, this is bright and blazing, almost like the sun, but we know it's not our same physical sun that we see in the sky. This is like a sun, but it is spirit, God, creator, the all that is. And it's just this massive, unspeakably beautiful light source. And you may see it in different ways. It may have many colors moving. It can be mostly one color. Maybe it's beaming out rays of light or glittering or glistening. Maybe it's a very soft light like a candle. However this image comes to you, this is perfect, the perfect image for creator light for you right now. And we reach out to this light. We're still taking those deep, easy breaths. And with our inhale, we find ourselves inhaling this beautiful light. And it comes into our physical selves. With each breath in, we take in more light. And anything not of the light can exit with our out breath. With the next breath in, we take in light to our minds. We see this light illuminating our very thoughts, our memories, along with any future plans. All these are being encircled by light. We breathe out that which does not serve us. We breathe in more spirit light, and we feel it sinking down to our heart centers, to our emotions, to all those emotions we're feeling now. But this light can stretch farther. It can stretch back to all our past emotions. It can ease our anxieties and worries about the future. For this light is beyond time, beyond space, and yet it is here with us. We take another deep breath out, releasing that which no longer serves us. And with another deep breath in, we take in the light and feel it very strongly and surely moving through our bodies, our minds, our emotions, our entire selves, so that it feels as though the light is circulating strongly and surely in every part of us it can reach. Now before us, we see a beautiful image of our earth. And as we watch, aided by our thoughts and prayers, we see this light sinking into the earth. We see this light wrapping all around the earth. And we see this light touching every single person on earth. We know that we are filled with light. And indeed, our entire planet is wreathed in light. We sit here for a moment, letting that light sink in. We give thanks to the light for its constant aid. We set the intention that this increase in light will have all manner of positive outcomes in our lives and on earth. We give thanks to Spirit. And taking a final deep breath, we come back to our more everyday selves. bless us.